Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our very first Common Sense Parenting Facebook Live of 2022. So it is so great to have you join us here for another round of very helpful and informative topics for parents. So, as always, my name is Gabby, and I am here with Bridget Barnes, who is our Common Sense Parenting expert. Bridget, how are you today?
I'm doing really good today. Thanks for asking, and really super excited to talk about this particular topic,
Yes, so
especially since COVID has hit and we're all really using this a lot.
Yes. So, with that said, today we are talking about social media and how it relates to your child. But even, a lot of these tips can kind of relate to us. And just as Bridget said, with the pandemic these last 2 years, there's definitely been an increase in the use of social media. So, I think we all can probably take something away from this chat, both for ourselves and our kids. So, if you're watching with us live and you have any questions for Bridget, regarding social media and parenting, feel free to leave them in the comment section of this video and we can get them answered at the end. And please also make sure, whether you're watching it live or later on, that you also make sure to share it with your other parents, friends who could find this helpful. Okay, so let's get into our discussion questions. We're going to start here at the very beginning. So, Bridget, what would you say, as an expert, is an appropriate age range to allow children to have access to cell phone, internet devices, social media, all of the above?
Well, around age 2 or 3, most children are experiencing what is called like lapware, where they're sitting on someone's lap and that
Yeah.
person is using some technology. So they're exposed to it pretty much right away. That doesn't mean that we'll let them start searching the net at 2.
Right.
But around 4 to 7 years of age, kids get very interested in the internet and want to engage or interact with it. Of course, they should do so with supervision, with someone doing that with them. So in tandem with someone else, not there on the internet alone. I remember when my grandson was 4, he figured out the internet and he wanted to go to Disney. He remembered his mom's code and the whole
Yeah.
9 yards. And I was like, okay, kids are really pretty savvy about the internet. So
Yeah.
you may want to get something called get net wise to put on your, so a system to kind of really kind of screen your web systems that your children might become exposed to, and it will really help you kind of understand the internet a little bit better, to make it more child safe,
Hmm.
and also, your search engine, make sure that you have a child safe search engine on your computer around age uh, 7 to 10 or so, Gabby, children get more, they want to have more social validity. So they want to go outside their family. And so then the phone becomes something that they want. They want a personal phone around 7 or 10. This is what most studies and most parents are saying to us in our classes. And whether or not to allow a child to have a phone at 7 or 10 is really case by case decision for parents. But I say if a child isn't able to show you that they're responsible at home, probably not a good idea to give them access to a personal phone. And I would really I would see if they could be responsible to a computer that's in the home that we can monitor and see. And if they can do that, then a discussion can come forth. But really, that's different for every family and every circumstance. And not, it doesn't mean that every child in that age range needs to have a phone. It just means that kids begin to ask their parents and
Yes.
parents begin to consider that around that age, seven
Hmm.
to 10.
Yeah, I love what you said about just how savvy these kids are. I mean, even from when they're younger and they're, on your lap and seeing you enter your passcode, and then they remember how to do it and how to access all those apps. So, just as you said, we're going to get into a little bit more on kind of some privacy settings we can implement, but I'm sure a lot of parents watching know that how receptive they are to watching us on our phones, and then they want to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. So, when we're talking about internet safety and social media, how can we teach our children the importance of being safe online, how to do so before they are allowed access to those social media apps?
Well, that's a great question, Gabby. So, when it comes to teaching children the importance of being safe online, parents really should make a point of modeling the behavior they want their kids to do. That's the
Yeah,
first thing you have to do. You have to do it. You can't just say, do as I say and not as I do.
right.
Which brings us back to that whole lapware. So while children are near you and watching you, make sure that you are using those that technology appropriately and how much you're using it. They're watching that. How often are you've got your little face in the phone or on a computer. So sit down and talk to your kids too about safe behavior online and how to use this appropriate. It's a tool,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. Uh, their arm. It shouldn't be so important to them that they can't live without. It's a tool that you should be able to put down and how to be able to make that appropriate in their lives. So I would definitely sit down and explain to kids the difference between sharing information with somebody you know and someone that you don't know online, or putting information to people that maybe you do know online, but shouldn't be out in public. It's like taking all your information and putting it in the street out in front of your house. Do you want everybody to see that picture of yourself? So if you're not willing to let your grandparents see it, as my rule, then
Yeah,
probably you should leave it off the internet. Um,
right.
so I tell my kids when they were younger, Gabby, that the internet is like going to a city or country you've never been in, and you would do your due diligence to search it out and to know all you could know about it before you went to that place, right? You wouldn't just get on a plane and hop off and see about things. So, and then when things go wrong, and they will, well, that's just life. When you up on the internet and something happens, whether you're being bullied or whether you run into a catfishing situation or somebody's sharing inappropriate messages or photos with you, don't respond. That's the number one thing. Don't respond. Get an adult that can help you to report this to the appropriate authorities is their key thing. So don't respond to those search engines that want you to do that. That's the
Mm-hmm.
part of the game they're playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when that happens, I know some kids or maybe teenagers too might be kind of embarrassed that, so and so is catfishing me or they sent me this photo and I don't really want to talk to my parents about it. What would you recommend they do in that situation?
Yeah, trusting another adult that they can speak with, whether that be a teacher or a counselor or a coach.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that that person will again probably tell them that they have to notify their parent. But if they want to start there to have that person be a sounding board, that's
Mhm.
fine. And Boys Town has a great, site for you to be able to ask questions. And so I know you're probably going to put that up on our link for them to be able to get to. So, your voice, your life, just, maybe ask somebody else in that group, like, oh, or an expert. You don't know them, but you can
Yeah.
ask them and they can probably say, you should do X, Y, and Z and
Mhm.
let your parents know so that they can safeguard themselves. Because not only are they getting your information, they're getting your parents' information.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
Their address. Yeah.
yeah, and so we have the Boys Town National Hotline, which is yourlifeyourvoice.org. So we'll link that in the comments here. And then they also have a hotline number and a texting number that we'll go ahead and put too. So that's always, when you're getting your kids set up on social media, just say, and even if they're scrolling through TikTok, sometimes they might see a video that'll just pop up and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't even click on this and now I'm kind of bothered by seeing what I saw." So the hotline's always a great resource for them to connect with if at first they don't feel like talking to their parents yet about it.
Yeah. It gives them some, anonymity. They might feel
Yeah,
like I don't want people to know that this has happened, but they can talk to someone about it and an expert right away who's going to give them some fairly good advice.
yeah, totally. And we touched already too on how parents can set good examples when it comes to social media use. So I think just as Bridget said, a good rule of thumb is, if you don't want your child being glued to their phone or on their networking apps, don't do it either or in front of them. So that's good. Um, we did have a question in the comments, so we'll just take a quick break and get to that
Mhm.
one. Like I said at the beginning, if you're watching and have comments, please feel free to keep leaving them. But this user is asking, my child cries and melts down if I limit their computer time. What should I do? I don't have time after work to listen to their temper tantrums.
That's why they do it
Yeah.
because you don't have
They think
time
they'll
for
give
that.
in. Yeah.
Yep, and you're going to give in. Kids are pretty smart that way, so you have to make a choice. Are you going to give in and give them what they want? Are you going to say, you can have a meltdown if you want, but this is off the table.
Mhm.
And have times when kids can have access to it, so it's not like no internet. That's probably not the way you want to go, but maybe sandwich it in between things that they're supposed to do. So if they have to come home and you know do some kind of chore or do something they are supposed to do, and then the internet can be something that they earn a little bit of, and then they have to do something else, like I don't know, do their homework, and they can, by getting on that on time and doing it right away, they can earn some more of the internet or something like that. And try to schedule the internet and stick
Yeah.
to it, and say, and talk to kids about it ahead of time, and they agree. You sat down, you told them what the schedule is, what the schedule is. If you're having a meltdown, that's your choice, but that's what we've agreed upon, and I'll stick to that. Children crying, they're not bleeding, they're not on fire, they're okay. You're okay. Just move on and don't give in, or you'll be giving in every single time you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, definitely. So the next one is, what social media platforms are kids using the most these days?
Well, we all know that TikTok is overused. The
Yeah.
last little blow up with the school problems. So yeah, TikTok probably the biggest user for teenagers and just about everybody. Everybody seems to be on it, doing their crazy little dances and things like that, and having fun with it. And it could be a fun thing. It's just when it's misused that can be a problem. But that's followed by usually Instagram, that kind of thing, and Snapchat.
Mhm.
So they have various different ways to get on the internet anymore, and parents have to be doing their due diligence to pay attention and be involved and talk to their kids about the internet, like they would talk to them about their basketball game or
Yeah,
anything else kids might be involved in.
totally. And I think something important to mention too with Instagram and Snapchat especially is the use of stories. So it started on Snapchat, but now you can do them on Instagram, the little bubbles at the top of the screen. And I think something that parents should look out for is a lot of times when kids are posting on their stories, they can actually tag their location. And normally it's like, oh, they're out hanging out with friends and they're at this restaurant or the arcade and they'll tag the location. So I think parents, that's just something to be aware of because you don't want them tagging their location, while they're still there. So maybe if they do want to share that they did this fun thing at this place with their friends, encourage them to share it, the next day or maybe a couple days later. Just, because people can track those locations in real
Mhm.
time. So if they see, oh, I see 5 different stories at the arcade, I can go to the arcade and these kids will be there. So
Mhm.
I don't think we always think about that when we're scrolling through the stories, just how accessible people's locations are.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Hmm.
Good point. Way
Yeah.
to go, Gabby.
I just thought about that the other day because I was out with my friends and I was going to do exactly that, post a little story. And I was like, well, it's probably not the safest. So, okay. So we talked about that. And then how do you think, Bridget, parents can best monitor these apps? Because just as you said, checking in as after school when we're asking about basketball games, oh, well, what have your friends been posting? Like, how can we make that flow a little bit so it doesn't just seem like, oh, give me your phone. I need to look through all your apps.
Yeah, I definitely think that, having ongoing conversations with kids and making that a part of the conversations that they know are going to happen, in not this weird way, like it never happens and here it is. As soon as I start getting a kid a device and they start interacting with devices, it's a part of our life. It's not going away. So let's talk about it. And on a consistent basis, not, till I'm nagging and hovering over them like a helicopter person, but that I am aware of it. And I try to have them educate me. That's really cool. And they tell you, like, okay, so what is that little bubble there for? Oh, it
Yeah.
tells us where the location is. And now I can, why do you want to use that? Well, because people could know where to go.
Yeah.
It also could tell other people where to go and where you're at. And so that kind of creates that conversation. So it really is about being a family again, getting back to that face to face conversations that you have. Of course, you want to put filters on certain programs so it restricts children when they shouldn't, and limits them from being on sites they shouldn't be on. And maybe, again, those child safe search engines so that you can search out what things are not safe and talk to your kids about why this is not safe. Because sometimes they get curious about things like, what's that over there? And then time limits on tools, on devices that they turn off after a certain
Mhm.
amount of time, and kids are not on them in the middle of the night, losing sleep and not being able to function the next day.
Definitely. I love what you said about time limits. I even have it on mine when I'm on Instagram. It tells me you've been on Instagram for 30 minutes a day, and it's like, whoa, I thought I'd been 5 minutes, So even as an adult, I think it can really eat up your time. So I know
Mhm.
there are quite a few different ways to kind of guard those time limits, or maybe even it's just organically setting it yourself. So, okay, at 8 o'clock, we plug the phones in the kitchen and then we go to bed without them. So we're not scrolling in bed or whatever it may be.
Right, right. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of bad habits because we really didn't know about the internet. We didn't
Yeah.
know how close the technology could get to us. That it's sitting right now. My phone is sitting on this on my table here. Why does it have to be here? Why is it here? And but they begin to go everywhere with us, and when they're not there, we're looking for them,
Yeah.
and they're designed for us to look for them. They beep and they make noises and they interact. Hey, look at me. And
Mhm.
so yeah, we're almost being programmed to do so. And so I really love what you said about creating organic ways that you're taking control of this technology, that it's a tool and it's not running you, you are running it.
Yeah. So, what other rules would you recommend setting or enforcing when it comes to children and social media and phone time?
Yeah, I just say throw a lot more interaction with humans in there, and you're
Yeah.
going to limit the social media and phone time. Is that instead of calling this person, let's go visit them, or instead of being on the internet, we need to get outside or get
Right.
involved in some activities or do family things. That they're having routines and schedules. Just don't wake up and let the internet take you over.
Hmm.
Wake up and know there is a routine that our family has. We're going to stick to it. And when you have some downtime, yeah, you can use your phone during the times that we've allowed you to do so. And then after the time limit is over, then they're going to be hooked up and we're not going to be using them. So I think throw a lot more family life and interacting with others in there, and you're going to find that you can really limit and control the social media in your life.
Right. And it just positively benefits everyone. Instead
Yeah,
of playing games on your phone, you can play games as a family. So,
think. I mean, really, I played a couple of weeks ago. I a bunch of ladies and I got together and we played a board game. We had a blast. It was so
yeah,
hilarious, and I'm like, why aren't we doing
why
this
don't we do
more?
this more? Totally. It's so
Yeah.
fun. Especially learning a new one as a kid, I feel like was always the most fun. Is, the first few times you play Candyland, it's like the most
Mhm.
magical thing. So, so
Yeah.
fun.
And you think your kids won't like it. At first, they might
Yeah.
groan. They might go, "Oh, what is this? What are my old parents doing?" And then they get in and they really get
Yeah.
involved.
They're like, they don't want to stop playing. Okay, so what should parents do if they find something concerning in their child's phone or on their social media? How can they talk to them about what they find?
Okay. First things first, calm down.
Yeah,
you know,
it's hard.
don't,
But
yeah, it is hard. It is because it's concerning. This is your child. And it could be scary and violating and even overwhelming to a parent. Like, what should I do? And what am I going to do about this? And so, number one, in a calmer state of mind, you're going to make better decisions.
yeah,
So, you're going to try to calm yourself down, use a calm down strategy. Um, Calmly ask to talk to your child. You definitely want to get the device and say, okay, we need to talk about this. And maybe not at the same time I take the device. They'll ask me, why are you taking that device? And I might say, well, I need to sit down and talk to you about it, but I want to use it. You will be able to, definitely, but we need to talk about something first.
Right.
And if they have a meltdown, that's fine. And they'll get over it because they want to get back to their phone or whatever device they're trying to get to. And then calmly sit down and talk to them about the thing you saw or the thing you found, or you overheard, or whatever the case may be. And hear their side of it. How did they get to that side? Uh, what are their thoughts and their feelings, what happened, and then just respond to it just like you would do anything else. If a child spills milk, we clean it up and we make sure that we have a way for them to get help with pouring the milk in the future. And the same case in this particular instance, we're going to make sure that we put on their device that so those things cannot get to them as much as possible. There's always workarounds with the
Yeah.
internet. They always find new ways to do that. And then teaching them, making them responsible. If you're going to be on the internet, when you see this, you look at the search engine. If the spelling is off or something's wrong, you don't want, if you get to some place, stop, don't use it, come get me, and we'll take care of it. If I'm too far away, get a trusted adult that's near you. So have a plan and talk to your kids about it. Lots of times kids don't respond appropriately because there has not been a conversation about what to do.
Yeah.
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 So,
And I love what you said too about, trying your best to stay calm, even though I know what you're seeing or what you might find may make
mm,
you very emotional, which is totally understandable. But I think, from a child's perspective, if they see, well, my parent can sit down and have, this calm conversation with me and just teach me how to do better next time, it's not as much of, oh, I'm so scared that my parents are going to find out about this because they're going to blow up on me. And,
yeah, inside I might feel that way. And I remember when my
yeah,
son was a teenager, I was like, we found something, and
yeah,
initially we were like, whoa, what, and so we just had to get to a calm place. We
right.
sat down and talked to him, and that never happened again. And so I think when you talk to kids, they're willing to listen to you, and you have to be also willing to listen to them and hear their side of the story. That doesn't mean we're going to let them continue to do inappropriate behavior on the internet, but also we want to hear them out, and when they think we're listening, they're more likely to talk to us.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. So there's been quite a few studies that have been done during the COVID pandemic on how the increased use of screen time and social media networking apps has made children's in-person social skills kind of, decline a bit just because they're not practicing them as much. So, how can parents help their kids find a healthy balance of enjoying social media and using it in a positive way, as well as screen times with e-learning and everything, balanced with socializing and continuing to better those skills?
Yeah, well, that's a big question.
I always like
And
to save the big ones for the end. You know me.
you like to zing me at the end there.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Well, balance is always something we all are looking for in our entire lives, whether it's getting enough sleep or eating right or exercising. Same thing applies to social media, having a balance of that, limiting so you don't have too much. Too much of anything is a bad thing. And so limits are not bad. So when kids argue with you or want to have a meltdown about limits you're putting on social media, don't get yourself that you're being unfair. We're having to have balance in our life. You wouldn't let them eat a whole bag of candy or a bucket of ice cream. So why would we let them be on the internet endlessly?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say I try to find positive things also for kids to do on the internet. It isn't always just I like sending a positive message out on the family thread on your phone. That's your job every morning. Is find something positive, whether it be a scripture or just some positive quote, and send that out to on the family thread. So that's one thing. So getting them to use the internet in appropriate ways, finding information, something new we didn't know about, a fun fact to share at dinner time, that kind of thing. So I think that it's important for us to try to embrace the internet in an appropriate way, involve it in our lives in an appropriate way, and balance it by limiting it in our lives and including it as well appropriately in our lives. So my thing would be with parents, don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's a tool that we use. And when you're not afraid of something and you don't feel like it's a scary thing, you're going to be able to manage it better and not just kind of push it away because kids are going to be exposed to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, last question is, what resources does Boys Town's Common Sense Parenting offer to help parents in the age of social media?
Oh my gosh, so many. Let me go on now. Of
Right.
course, you want to go up to our website for all these articles. I mean, I don't know how many times we've had this conversation, as well as I've written articles about it. There's
Yeah.
lots of other authors up there who've written great articles about the internet. You can download all that stuff. You can ask the experts. You can get some of that information. Of course, this Facebook chat is always here with a lot of other experts that Gabby talks to. Our hotline is there for you. And please, please, please do come to our Boys Town Common Sense Parenting classes, especially now that we have them online. You
Yeah.
can get them anywhere, anytime. And so definitely coming to a class and talking to other parents because you know what? I found that parents are the best resources when you're talking about what would you do in this situation because more than likely some parent has experienced that. So
Yes.
coming
Oh,
to our
definitely.
parenting classes probably would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, Bridget, as always, this has been so helpful. And just as Bridget said, everyone, we know we talked a lot about the negatives on social media and how daunting it can be, but there is still a lot of good that comes out of social media, kind of like this chat. If you didn't have Facebook, you wouldn't see it. So we really appreciate all of your support and look forward to having many other chats with you in the new year. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for our chat next month. Thank you.